and Swift Kick in the Ass podcast, episode 24.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curren and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass. Living life on your terms.
Welcome, I'm Tom Stewart, and I'm joined here with my lifelong friend, John Curren. I've known this kid since I was 4 years old, and we're no longer kids. We're actually grown men in our late 40s. But John, today we wanted to talk about the rut. What happens when you fall into one, and why are me and John in a rut that we're trying to get out of?
You know what, Tom, thanks a lot for calling me a kid. I haven't been called a kid in several decades. I appreciate that. Here we are. We're in a rut. And what do we mean by that? I mean,
Well, there's a saying, and I think it came from AA, and I'm not an alcoholic, but I grew up in an alcoholic family, so I can understand it. Talking about there's a where you fall into inside a hole, and like a guy walking down the street and he falls in a hole, and then he can't get out, or he gets out, and then he keeps on each time he goes down the same street, he keeps on walking into that same hole and falling into it. Even though that we know that what happens when we do certain things, or why we get in certain places. Does that kind of ring any bells with you, or make any sense?
Yeah. For me, yeah, that does make total sense. For me, I think you're in a rut when you feel like just lack of excitement.
Like you need a good swift kick in the ass.
Yeah, you need a good swift kick in the ass to get you over that hole that you're about ready to step into. Now, just let's just face it. If you're married with children, you're getting older. You work all the time. You don't have a lot of time for yourself. You're always doing something for your family or others. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not bad to be married. It's not bad to have children. It's not bad to be employed. All these things are actually very good things. But why is it that a lot of us feel like we're in a rut, that we're not challenged by this anymore, and we're just not getting out of life? We don't have a well-lived life. We don't have the challenges we used to have. We're not having the fun we used to have. Is it just that we're older, or is it that we've reached a certain amount of success now, so that we've raised kind of the baseline? So now we're looking for even more excitement and more fun and more things to do to challenge ourselves.
Well, I think we get caught up and trapped in the little things of life that just suck the time out of. So think about it. You fight traffic. I know you don't because you work at home, but I fight traffic, and I spend 3 hours a day in a car. Besides my normal day-to-day stuff. So that's 3 hours right there. That's out of my day. That's gone. And then you get home, and something might have happened, or you need to do something, or you have commitments for your children. And it's not bad things, but all these things add up to where you need time to work on yourself. And if you don't have a focused game plan, and you finally do get a little time, you're like, what should I be doing? And then, you end up watching TV, or, sitting around eating a sandwich and saying, I feel like I should be doing something, but I don't know what, because you don't have a focused game plan. And I'm just saying, I'm not preaching. I'm saying that's what happens to me. Sometimes I get so overwhelmed, or I have so many things that I want to do. I have a lot of interest, and sometimes things just aren't, for whatever reason, I just don't feel like doing them.
Well,
I am in a rut right now with training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've trained for 6 years, and all of a sudden I just feel like, man, I'm just, it's not that I love Jiu-Jitsu, but it's just I'm burned out. I'm burned out going to class. I'm burned out because I got other things on my mind, and I just want to do something different sometimes. but I also feel commitment. I have a commitment to my school. I have a commitment to my wife who trains with me and my family. And so it feels almost like now I feel obligated. And once I think you feel that obligation, man, that can just, it can suck the life out of you.
Yeah, and you talk about spending 3 hours a day in a car. That will suck the life out of you because you're absolutely right. You're not getting that time back. Even though I don't have a commute anymore. I work from home. I feel your pain. I did that for many years, and I don't think I could ever go back to 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 that commute because
Let me ask
also
you. Let me ask you something.
sure.
Did you make a New Year's resolution?
Yes, I've made several. I
Have
made
have you kept any, or are you
I am
faltering on
mo-
any?
I am actually moving forward. Am I as far along as I would like? No. Am I going backwards? Hell no. I'll tell you what my resolutions were. Um, One was to remove clutter from my life, to get organized. My dad died over 2.5 years ago now, and I have a lot of crap. Not only his stuff, but my stuff as well. And I've built a huge detached garage, and I'm going through and I'm organizing things, and I've built a nice workbench, and I've have
So you can
shelves
become
up.
a so you can become a super hoarder.
No, the idea is, I mean, I just need that space so I can know what I have. I mean, there was a time in my life where I knew where everything was. Um, I don't
Well,
know that
that right
anymore.
there can be draining. When you have a lot of stuff, man, that's draining.
Yeah,
Because you have some. You ever feel like when you go, say you went camping and you like basic primitive camping, and you don't have barely anything, and you almost feel free, like you're like, you know what, I don't got to worry about, plugging in an air conditioner or doing all these other little things that, that
yeah,
you might do if you had an RV or something. You're there. You just exist. And
yeah.
I think that happens with our life, right? We get cluttered, mental clutter, financial clutter, stuff.
Yeah, it weighs you down. Um, I think you remember when on my birthday last November, I took a nice long hike, and it was during that time when it really dawned on me that all of this clutter that I've been accumulating since my dad got sick and died, and handling all of his affairs and such, um, all that clutter started to really weigh me down. That's part of the reason why I feel like I'm in a rut. I'm happy to report that just getting started makes you feel a lot better. Um, and I'm slowly but surely moving through, and I have so much stuff. I have to organize it into groups, and then I'm going to have to even filter it down even more. So I'll be getting rid of I have projects. I have a boat project, and I'm not sure what parts I'm going to need, so I need to get organized so I can understand what I have, and what I have multiples of, and then make some decisions. So it's really about creating an opportunity to make a decision, to say, okay, I'm
And
going to keep this and or get rid of it.
it takes time, and it's overwhelming. The reason I was asking you about the New Year's resolution is one of mine was very simple, and it was not to be so angry. And I'm not normally an angry person. I'm very easygoing and stuff like that. But over the last couple of years, I have been getting angrier, and I think a big part of it is my job, and it's a shame. But I'm just, I get, disgruntled maybe, or I feel unappreciated. And over to years, I mean, different things. I had a company vehicle and they took my company vehicle away from me. Those things, I've accepted it and I said, you know what? All right, I'm just happy to have a job and I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. But those things start to build up and you're like, man, and it starts. I find myself gritting my teeth, driving to work. I'm stuck in rush hour traffic and I'm like,
Yeah,
why? Why am I doing this?
you start
But it's
hating
because
life.
I got to put food on the table. So
Uh,
but
I'm
yeah,
right there with you.
one of my things was to let go of the anger, and I was doing pretty good, but I'm telling you, man, I don't know. It's starting to the more I sit in rush hour traffic, it starts to creep back in, and I'm like, I feel that Walter White personality coming back in me that, because everyone would always say I look like Walter White, and I love Breaking Bad, but I remember telling my wife in the beginning of the year, so I'm going to leave Walter White back in 2014. This is a whole new outlook. I'm going to look for the opportunities, and I still believe that. I think that anger, when you hold anger and frustration inside of you, it hurts yourself. It doesn't hurt anyone else. And I'm trying to let that go and move towards a more positive side of my life.
Yeah, feeling angry is no way to live, and I could see it leaches into other areas of your life, like dealing with your kids or your wife or people just on the
Right.
street. Um, but it's also an important tool too. No matter how you feel, your emotions are your own, and
Yeah, yeah, it can motivate you for sure.
yeah, I mean, you recognize. I think it's important that you recognize that you're angry, and you know why, and then you can start taking steps to do that. Um, I myself, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily. Well, I guess I have some anger issues as well in regards to work, but back in towards the end of 2014 or the last quarter of it, I made a decision that I just could not. I did not want to stay in my current job, my current day job, any longer. It's not that it's not that it's all that bad. I work from home. There's a lot of good positive things about it. But I made a decision to get out because I felt like that was something I needed to do. So I started looking and internal to the company that I'm with and started filling out applications. And towards the end of the year, I was actually interviewed for two different jobs, and I haven't heard back. I know I did not get one. I'm still, the other one's still up in the air. I might not get it. I might get it. I don't know. But regardless of if I get that job or I don't, I've learned quite a bit about myself in the process and helping me deal with that anger. And I share this with you is that by taking those steps and filling out those applications, you're taking control, and that, my friend, is going to help you feel better because I'm sure you feel a bit out of control um, of your circumstances.
Right. Well, I've had a hope, and it's been the last couple of years I've been studying, different internet marketing, podcasting, new media, video, that all that kind of stuff. Which I was, as a broadcast engineer, I'm already involved in the technical side. But for the last couple of years, I've had a jujitsu website. But learning all that stuff took time, and I consider myself a technical person, and I had stuff to share. And what happened is I found myself dealing so much with just the technical part of how to do it and how to get it up and running, how to get a website on WordPress built, how to make it look nice, try out this theme, try out this plugin. Oh man, I got the white screen of death. I can't get into my WordPress thing. How do I do this? You get hacked, all these different things. So you start to learn. And after a while, this is something I've talked to John about. We've talked about, you know, trying to do something and building something that makes something easy for the average person to just have something to share. Someone that has experience that, I give my cousin as an example. She travels all over the world for barely anything. She knows how to stay at hostels and all and different
Hostiles.
get different hostels or hostels or whatever they call
She stays with
hostile. I'm
hostiles?
fucking hostile. Pantera, hostels, right? Is that what you call them? Or she just got like a pop up camper. She's really really smart about that. And she's been doing it her whole life. Her and her husband, they don't have any kids. They just go off and they that's what they do. That's their thing. They vacation all the time. But she knows how to do it for cheap. And I was like, look, Barbara, you need to have a blog. You need to have a podcast or stuff, something out there. Get out there and start sharing these tips with people, because what's going to happen is she's going to build up some authority, and maybe she'll get more opportunities, or maybe she can make an income or a little bit of extra money coming her way by sharing this stuff. Plus, it's what she loves to do. So, what I'm building up to is that me and John were talking about building a creating a whole membership site discussing the technical side of how do you leverage your knowledge of your life experience into and put it easy. So it was almost like a step by step. Here's how you do this, so you don't have to fret through it. So what I'm trying to get to is that I've been working on this site, building it, and I've gone through a lot of technical challenges trying of myself, just trying to get this membership site or whatever up and running. But then I'm like, is this really worth it? Is it going to work? Is anyone going to be interested in it? You start second guessing yourself, and it's like, is that going to make us enough money? How much do we charge? All this stuff, and then when I do have idle time and I'm sitting around watching Netflix, I'm like, I feel guilty. I should be working on something. I should be doing something, to get myself out of my situation at work that I want to work towards. So I think that stuff, it all starts building up, and you get guilt from all different things, whether it's not working out, whatever, just trying to take some leisure time. And I think all that stuff adds up and becomes like a big boulder on your back, almost like the was it 800-pound gorilla that you used to refer to as your financial burden.
Yeah.
That happens with other things. Everything piles up, and I think it kind of squashes the hope. So I think what I'm in need of is a swift kick in the ass. I need something to wake me up and make me say, this is the focus, to pick a certain thing, focus on it, and get it done. What do you think?
I think you're right. I'll just say that, going back to the rut, being in a rut, you certainly did not get there, or we did not get into our ruts overnight. We wore that rut into the ground, and we're really just tired of our routine, I think. And what are routines? They're things that we do each and every day. We don't necessarily think about them. That's what a habit is. I mean, our lives are our habits, what we do on a daily basis. So by you saying, I feel guilty, because I'm sitting there watching TV, um, you know, think about all the other things that you've been doing. And maybe,
Isn't it Aristotle that said that excellence is a habit? I can't remember the exact quote offhand, but I know he talks about excellence is a habit and nothing more.
yeah, maybe what you could do is, after you do some work on new media HQ, give yourself a reward. Let yourself watch some Netflix. We all need to back off. You can't just go, balls to the wall and just head down and work, 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 work. You're going to burn yourself out, and no
That's
wonder
what I've
you're
been
angry.
that's what I've been doing this weekend. I've been watching. I've been on a binge with Sons of Anarchy, right, on Netflix. And Jen is my wife is just like, you're watching TV too much. I'm like, well, I'm trying to get off the computer where I normally am. I'm trying to change it up. I feel sitting at the computer sometimes is not good for my body and not good for my health. And I just sit back, watch some Netflix, and kind of take my mind off things and give myself a break because I never stop thinking about it. That's my problem. It's a good thing because I'm always searching for
Well,
something better, but it's also I don't stop thinking about it. It's like all I think about.
well, Tom, going back also to the New Year's resolutions, the other resolution I have is to get into better shape. There was a time when I used to work out quite frequently. It was a routine. It was a great habit. It was part of my life. And I remember back when I was probably in the best shape of my life, when I was 28 or 29 years old. I remember thinking to myself, man, I've been doing this for years. There's no way, I'm going to ever let this go. And here I am now pushing 50, and I have let it go. Not totally. I'm holding on by a thread because I work out maybe once a week. But working out once a week is not going to carry me where I want to go. Um, you know, a lot of people will complain about their lives and say, I just don't have the time to do what I want to do. Well, a good place to start then is to look at your day and look at how you're using your time that you have. We all have 24 hours a day to use. The most successful the most successful people have the same amount of time as the least successful. So why, what's the difference? Why are people more successful than others? It's because they use their
Money.
time. Well, yeah.
It's money.
Well, I don't know.
Here's one thing, and I think it's a good use of leverage. As you start right now, you and I are in a situation where we can't maybe afford, and it's not because we don't make the money, it's because we have expenses, but we can't afford to hire someone to cut the grass, to do our laundry for us, to all these things. Like I spend half my Saturday just doing laundry for the family, because my wife is out doing other stuff. She's doing the shopping, the cooking, and then we share the yard work here and there, and all that stuff takes time. And we basically have a weekend, plus we have obligations. We have church on Sunday morning, so that takes up half the day on a Sunday. If we want to do something like this, the podcast, that takes a couple hours on a Sunday night. So it leaves us with very little that we can invest in. But what happens is you get as other people that maybe make a little bit more, or you start building up some finances, you can outsource some of that, right? In a sense, you outsource, you get someone to do your garden for you. You get someone to, you drop off your clothes at the laundry to free you up time. And I think that happens with a business. There's that saying where they say you spend your time working in your business or on your business. And what a good entrepreneur should be doing is working on his business, coming up with the good ideas, the visions, and stuff, rather than the day-to-day, the accounting, the dealing with the goods and deliverables and what have you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. In fact, today I was out working in my garage getting organized, and this truck pulls up, nobody I know, and he's pulling a trailer with a stump grinder on it. And I had cut down a couple of trees a few years ago, and the stumps are in front of my house. And he says, "Hey, I'll grind those stumps. I'll give you a really good deal." And I paid him to do it, and now, man, it's awesome. He ground down 6 different stumps. Now I don't have to worry about mowing the grass because it's wintertime here, my friend, in Virginia. You might want to consider moving to Virginia because
But
I don't mow
he
the grass.
he solved the problem. Yeah, well, Florida, there's been no winter. I don't know why, man. I'm sweating right now. The rest of the country is
I know.
New York is expecting 2 feet of snow. Like the worst snowstorm in history is coming for New York, and I'm sweating my balls off in Miami.
I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I'm bundled up. But you're absolutely right. Our time is worth money, and I've learned this over the years. Like, I know how to work on cars. I enjoy working on cars, but I just don't have the time to do it anymore. So I go and take my car to Jiffy Lube, get the oil changed. I take it to the mechanic when it needs to be repaired. I know how to do the work, but my time, I'd rather pay the mechanic to do that work than do it myself, because I can use my time in much better ways. And if you ask my wife, it probably costs me less money to have a professional do the work, because it's better than me doing the work and then having to take it to a professional. I cut out the middleman. I don't do the work. I give it to somebody else, and everybody's happier.
That's what I should have done. My dishwasher, I talked about this last episode, but my dishwasher broke a couple weeks ago. All right, it came home. There was water all over the floor. We had to get the wet dry vac, suck everything up. Luckily, I have tile downstairs. But the thing is that it took time for me to uninstall the dishwasher. In fact, it took me a lot of time just because how shoved into the cabinet it was. I couldn't get to the little legs that adjust the dishwasher so you can pull it out. And so basically,
Yeah.
I had to use vice grips in order to turn the little legs, because you have to rotate them in order to lower it up and down. And normally you should just take a couple twists with your fingers and it comes up or down. Not with this, man. I had to get in there and with a wrench and do it one quarter turn at a time. And my shoulders were on fire. I was laying on the ground. It took me hours to get that damn thing out. And I tried doing it with my hands, and I cut my hand real bad because the wrench had cut the metal up.
Yeah.
And So it took a few hours, which should, if I would have paid Home Depot to come in and uninstall it, would have took them less, or at least they would I would have had someone else doing it. But then I had to find a place to buy it, so I didn't buy it from Home Depot. The reason being is Home Depot makes you order it and they deliver it, and they couldn't deliver until the next week. And I was like, man, I got all this sink full of dishes. I have no one here during the week, during the day, to accept the delivery. I want to be able to buy it, throw it in my truck, bring it home, and install it. So then I had to find a place. So it took another night or two to find a place that actually had a dishwasher in stock that you could pick up and buy that was in the right color. So that took time. And then I had to install it. And then, of course, it
Yeah.
wasn't plug and play like my other one. The hoses weren't the same. And so it took time. And it was time that I probably should have said, you know what? I will hire Home Depot next time and just have them deliver it and install it.
Well,
And a week later, you know what happened? My washing machine, and I didn't learn. I kind of learned my lesson on that, but I had to remove. I have a kind of like a closet where I keep my washer and dryer, and I had to basically remove the dryer in order to pull the old washer out. But I did have Home Depot come and deliver it and install it. But it still took me, most of my Saturday, because well, it was a good opportunity to get in there and clean out my closet and suck all the lint out of my dryer and make sure everything's good and running good. So now I'm happy because everything is good, but it did take time.
let me tell you my story in regards to my dishwasher because I've replaced it year or two ago, and it just as for comparison's purpose. My wife and I went to Lowe's. We did some research. Our it's funny at Lowe's they have this infographic explaining how loud a machine is, and they have different decibel levels of different things. Like a babbling brook is so many decibels, and it goes to a car, and it
That's just a
goes.
brook that won't shut up.
Yeah, ours was a loud Italian family arguing. It was it was terrible. And I'm part Italian, so so it's not a put down. So anyhow, we picked out the dishwasher, and the guy says, "Hey, for $75, we'll not only install it, but we'll also warranty it for 3 years or something like that. And if anything happens with it, you just call us. We take care of it." So I did that. I think I paid $75 for them to install it. And I'll tell you, man, they came in, they took out the old one, they put in the new one, they did everything, and it was very easy, and such a good use of my time. And the only reason I say this is because I would have done exactly the same thing that you did, Tom. And in fact, in years past, I have done the same thing. And I just I'm just so glad, that I think I've gotten over that. Now, I do pick and choose. There are things I do on my own, and I think what you said, that you cleaned out your vent, you did this, you did that, you did other things in addition to installing a dishwasher, which is good, and that's an added benefit. But it still took you a lot of time. And let's just face it, we don't have a lot of time. In fact, I think we're probably running over on this one. Um, so
This has been Handyman 101.
yeah, so we're I think we
Get rid
made
of your
it.
pride. The moral of the story: get rid of your pride. Um, pay the extra $50 or whatever to have your appliance installed,
I
so you
think your
can spend
time
time
is
with your wife and kids.
Yeah, I think your time is worth $50. Um,
Learn
so
to
it's
outsource.
yeah, it's not just about the money, it's about the time. And I know too that as you get older, you feel the pressure of time now. Like there's so many things in my life that I want to do, but as I get older, I realize I have less time to do them, and even less physical strength to be able to do them. So, what do you do? Um, I think that We need to create new routines and new habits for ourselves. We need to create a new image of ourselves. And this is the way we do it. We take small baby steps. Um, in order to create a routine or a habit, it's very basic. No matter what you're trying to do, you need a cue or a trigger for the behavior, which is the second thing. You know, the trigger is what reminds you to take the action. Then you have the action, and then you have a reward. In simple language, and the best way I know of describing it is um, walking you through a habit that we're all familiar with, and that's answering the phone. Now, I don't know about you, but I never thought of picking up the phone as being a habit, but it is because the trigger is the phone ringing. When the phone rings, you know you need to pick up the phone. So the phone rings, you pick up the phone, and your reward is what happens on that other end. You know, it could be positive or negative depending on who you're talking to. It could be positive or negative based on what you're hearing or, the conversation. But in the end, it's all the same. It's a trigger, it's the action, and then the reward. So um, so for my, getting organized, um, I guess maybe organize. I'm trying to just find time and do it any little bit I can, and I recognize that there are limits to my time. I can only do so much, so I have to realize, hey, that is what it is. I just need to keep chipping away at it slowly but surely. I'm going to keep moving, and
I I, I
I'm
I
doing that.
think that I believe that's a key. I mean, that's a philosophy I have. It's what I used to tell new guys when they'd come to the jujitsu school. Just keep on showing up. And I'm actually having to take my own advice now because I feel burned out and because I haven't been wanting to train, going to class and stuff like that. But I just, even if it's once a week, I still show up. And it's just to keep there until I get out of whatever, rut that I'm in and get motivated again. And who knows what it could be. And I think that what happens is, like I have no problem with jujitsu. It's my problem is life in general weighing me down and making it so it's overwhelming that when I get home it's just like, oh man, now I gotta go. I gotta, I'm tired and I gotta go train tonight and have some guy beat me up. It's like it's not
Yeah.
the most motivating thing. Rather than me thinking, oh man, I get this, I learned this new move and I want to try this, or I want to see how this works, and so I've lost my inspiration, but I know it will come back because I've had it happen before, and it's just a matter of pushing through and actually keep showing up, keep on doing it, and eventually, you'll get out of you'll get motivated again. You'll find something that will trigger you and get you going. You'll get a
Tommy,
swift kick in the ass.
I was just reading an article in either Inc. or Entrepreneur, I forget what, but he was talking about this gym that has a different business model. Their business model is to actually get people in and use their gym. If you sign up and you stop using the gym, you know what they do? They cancel your membership. And it's no bells or whistles, no frills. It's it's um it's just strictly a gym. And
Well,
people
I'm
go in
glad
there.
I'm glad my gym doesn't do that because I'd be demoted to white belt by now.
But what you were saying kind of was a trigger for me, to remember that article, because the person they were interviewing was saying, you know what, I really don't like working out. Working out it's painful. I get sweaty. It's just not fun. The person in this article. Of course, I don't feel that way. I like, ex- I like to exercise. But what was interesting is they say, just saying, you know what, working out is difficult. Physical exercise is it's challenging. It's difficult. it's not really all that enjoyable. But what is enjoyable is being in better physical shape, the way you feel because you have exercised and you've burned off that stress. You know,
But it's not really that. It's bad when you. I mean, it's not that bad, and when you, it's the getting there. I think the biggest hurdle is actually getting in the vehicle and getting to the gym, rather than when you actually get there. The working out's really not that hard, and you actually start to feel better once you do it. But and after you're done, you're like, man, I'm glad I came. But
and
there's but going and knowing that sometimes it just doesn't work, man. You're just like, oh, it's just easier just to stay home tonight and sit in front of TV.
well, when we used to work out together, I can remember, we'd call each other all sorts of different names when one of us didn't want to work out. Come on, you wimp, let's go. And you're absolutely right. You get there, you go through it, and even if you don't have a great workout, it's better than no workout at all.
I agree.
And you feel better for that. So it is just it is persistence. But not everyone sees workouts as being enjoyable. Some people hate it. So for that reason, they need to think of, the reward, what you're getting out of it. And, you know, it's looking good, it's feeling better, it's, whatever your reward is, you have to come up with that. So, um, we both have been talking offline and we're both trying to get back into exercise ourselves. That's one of my resolutions is to be more physically fit. And I recognize that I can't just get back into this routine overnight. It's going to take me a while. And also, as the older I get, the more I recognize, hey, you know what? I if I stay away from exercise for too long, I need to go into it slowly or I am going to hurt myself.
Yeah,
If I
you got to
get
have those primer. You got to have those primer workouts where it's just you know lighter weight, getting into it. Even if it's not even you might not even break much of a sweat. Like you said, just go through the motions and get used to actually
right.
participating, and then you can start building up the intensity. But just to jump in, balls to the wall, like you're listening to Eye of the Tiger, and you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
That's it's not a good idea.
and most people are like that. In fact, I just heard this on the news recently is that, January is like the biggest attendance month for any gym. But by like February 15th, it's back to like hardly anybody.
I I used to hate it. We used to go to the Y years ago, and me and my wife despised January because all of a sudden you could not find a parking spot anywhere. Man, you were like parking like two
Yeah.
blocks away, which doesn't matter. I mean, I guess it's exercise walking in, but it was like, you're right. As soon as February came along, all of a sudden the parking lot was clear again.
Yeah, so I
Or
mean,
it would trickle off. It'd start getting a little bit lower, and by like, March and April, forget about it, man. You can park right up front and not have to worry about parking spots.
yeah, so I mean, enthusiasm and motivation are important to have, but they're not going to carry you for the long term. You have to figure out what's going to carry you for the long term and what's going to reward you. So here we are trying to get into a new habit. Going to give us some homework. One is to write a list of what you do every day without fail. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you a list of your habits, a list of your routines that you already have in place.
Just wiping
Habit.
my ass count.
What was that?
Just
Wiping
wiping
your.
my ass count.
Sure. Why not? Why not? I mean, if that's the trigger that you want,
I guess that's a good habit to
just
have.
maybe wash your hands after your whatever, and 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 then the second list is write down things that happen to you each day. For instance, like you drive in your car and you stop at a red light, or you see commercials on TV, or you get email, or something like that. The whole purpose of writing these lists is to understand your current routine so that you can create a add a trigger very easily to something that's already in place to get you to start a new action. So the example I read, the guy wanted to floss his teeth. He wanted to he wanted to floss his teeth. So he would put the floss right by his toothbrush, because he brushed his teeth already. He brushed his teeth every day, no fail. He just, but he didn't floss. So he took the floss and he put it near the toothbrush. So every time he reached for the toothbrush, he saw the floss. So that triggered him to start flossing his teeth every day. So
That was that was a resolution I had a couple years ago. Not so much flossing, but just taking care of my teeth and going regularly. And that's one that I've actually held on to and been very diligent about, and I feel great about that. When I go into the dentist, I don't have fear that I'm going to have a bunch of dental bills. I go in for a cleaning every 3 months, and which is excessive. They say, twice a year, but for me, I go in every third month, and I never have a hard cleaning. I don't have to worry about dental stuff, and it's something that's just, it's one of those things that's been relieved off my mind. I don't have that in the back of my mind, kind of like just eating away at you, going, man, I got to do that, or I got to go to the doctor, and that kind of stuff. That and doing a physical every year is one of those things that I do religiously,
well, see,
without fail.
That's your reward. It gives you peace of mind.
Right, and it wasn't always like that. For a long time, I went one time 7 years without going to the dentist. This was back when I was in my early 20s, and when I went to the dentist, he says, "You haven't had a cleaning in 7 years," which is pretty gross. But would you know, I had no cavities. He was so disappointed. He was like looking at me like, "Well, you have no cavities." Like, this kid hasn't been here 7 years and he has no cavities.
I'm familiar.
Maybe I built up such a layer of tartar that it was resistant to cavities. Who knows?
You forget that I'm very familiar. I'm very familiar with that time of your life, Tom. We stood about 3 feet away from you, buddy. But
oh, anyways, man, I think we should wrap this up, John. We're like this could have been 2 episodes.
Yeah, I agree. In any case, we're going to keep checking in with each other in regards to how far along we get with our resolutions and how far what we're getting done.
Sounds good. All right, man. Well, thanks for listening, and if you have any things, send us an email.
Thank you for listening to A Swift Kick in the Ass podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's content, and we ask you to please leave us a review in iTunes. Also, head over to aswiftkickintheass.com to get a free copy of the Simple Spelling Tool.